Hello everyone, my name is Ian and I would like to introduce you to my spectacular gaming project called Camille in an Experiment. Well, it is certainly spectacular for my past self, since it is my personal project in Unity. In this game you walk around, jump around, and there is a simple system of stats and items, so it's kinda something between Mario and Metroidvania, basically my favorite genre. I am making this project mainly in order to practice my skills both in digital art and overall game development. I firstly opened Unity last year with basically no knowledge of coding, and by going through some tutorials I managed to come up with this masterpiece. Then, after circa a year, during which I attended a coding course, I returned to Unity and decided to try to develop a template for Metroidvania-like games and a small prototype game. As for the functions, you can walk, jump, swim, take damage,
Ow!
die,
Oh!
get drowned, fall into pit,
What?
enter doors, pause your game to check your stats and items or leave game, heal yourself, buy items, jump on enemies, throw bombs, choose between different types of bombs, collect accessories which give you special powers, upgrade your stats, talk to characters, choose from different responses to upset them, play various challenges such as clearing a room of enemies as fast as possible, save your game, load your game, delete your data, and exit the game. The story is pretty simple. A mysterious guy called Architect invited you, Camille, to take part in an action and social experiment. There are 5 more characters, each of which has a set of challenges prepared for you. And that's it. Simple, right? Considering my overall plans, the game is around 20% complete. I am trying to follow the rules of good level design, gradually increase difficulty and introduce something new in each level. Designing levels and enemies is pretty much my favorite part of the development. As for enemies, some of them are basically ripped off from Super Mario, others I made up but mostly are not very complicated. As for characters, my only original one is the protagonist. For the other 5, I of course don't have rights since they are mostly from various games and anime. Anyway, I made a sprite sheet on my own and gradually I'm adding new sprites. Yet, I can both draw and code, I can't play on any instruments, so as this is just a fun personal project, I'm using music from various games. Let's hear my friend and tester Dan how he played the game.
Hello, my name is Daniel, and I am the playtester for the game Camille in an Experiment. As of now, I played through the completed portion of the game that is done, so about 20%. I played the game a total of 3 times, as there are varied options and paths to take and multiple secrets to find, and thus only one playthrough wouldn't really fit the needs of the game. I really enjoyed the direction of the game. The movement system is pretty simple and closely resembles system known from other games I played, while adding enough of a twist to feel original. The whole game follows a similar premise as the controls, being recognizable but original. The level design combined with character interactions allowed for a well enough developed experience overall, and even through my 3rd playthrough, the game was still enjoyable and challenging. As for the whole project and my feedback during the time playing, communicating with Jan was also great. We addressed a few bugs and possible improvements which he implemented seamlessly, making the whole experience really worth a while for me.
Now, as for how the game is designed in Unity. First thing I did was the main character's movement. I of course watched several tutorials and through a combination of various approaches, I gradually gave him the abilities I needed for the game. After some experimentation with the environment, I actually made a prefab which contains various classes to run the level, such as Level Manager, which manages the HP and other stats, camera, which follows the player, various elements of the pause menu, elements of the dialogue system, which activates various sprites when they are needed, transitions animation and scene manager responsible for transporting between scenes, player spawner for spawning player character at his starting position, audio manager responsible for playing sounds, background with parallax effect. It's easily possible to change a background in different scenes. Few major things which were challenging for me to set up were the dialogue system, save system and inventory. For both, there are a lot of tutorials on YouTube, yet they are mostly very specific, so I made up my own way to do them, although I believe an experienced programmer could do it more effectively. As for inventory, there isn't any list of items. Instead, each item has a slot, and if a player discards it, you can view its picture and description and how many do you possess. It is all stored in player stats as static variables, along with HP, air, etc., which stay the same no matter in which scene you are. The dialogues I'm all writing manually. When a dialogue is launched, there is a system in which each dialogue has its specific phase number and typically is just incremented by 1 each time the player chooses to continue. Mostly, they're just changing the sprite, the name of the speaker and the text itself. However, I can add pretty much everything there, such as transporting. There are parts where you can choose response, which make the system jump to different phases, and changing so-called story variables, which contain static variables for how characters like you, what already happened, which determines which events are gonna get triggered and how the characters are gonna behave. Working with everything manually might be time consuming, but I like how flexible it is. As for the save system, whenever a player saves the game, the player stats and story variables get saved into player prefs, which are kept the same even when the game is shut down. And when you load the game, instead all the static variables get loaded from player prefs. I particularly enjoyed programming enemies. They are stored in the game as prefabs and several objects are tied within them. Each type of enemy has its unique class for their behavior. Then they have enemy stats which maintain mainly their HP, then stompable area and explodable area which deals them damage, if player either stomps them or throws bomb at them. There might be others depending on the enemy's nature. With basic knowledge of managing 2D side-scrollers in Unity, making gimmicks like animated ground, moving screen, enemy spawning at different points feels incredibly easy. There is a prefab for doors which teleports the player at the scene and to exact location at the target scene. I would appreciate if you have any comments or suggestions for the game development. This, what I show you, is just a prototype and can serve as a template for games of this type. There are many possibilities and I am looking forward to exploring them.
Ow!